Okay, today I'm replacing the ball joints on the driver and passenger side of the Kia 2006 Kia Rio LX. Just crossed over the 460,000 miles. I started working on the taking the cotter pin out, loosening that up on the ball joint. Replace that with new ones. Just loosening up ball joint nut. Then I'll determine the best way to remove the two bolts holding the ball joint on to the hub. So I remove the nut. So now I have to determine the best way to get it separated. I have a tool. To make it a little easier to pry the ball joint away. I've done this job several years ago, so I know I can do it. It's just a matter of getting it loose. What I decided to do was remove the ball joint nut and the two bolts holding the ball joint to the hub first. And to make it easier to take the bolts out, I turned the wheel left and right so I got enough room for my impact wrench to remove. And then I decided to remove the strut bolts holding the hub to the struts, so that way I can go up and down without using my fork tool. It makes the job a whole lot easier. And I propped it up with a piece of board because I don't want to make a mistake in extending out my new axles I put on just a few days ago. Alright, so well, I learned something the hard way, is to, once I loosen up the bolts on the ball joint, it is best to use the fork to break it loose and then detach it from the strut, just so you can have some wiggle room to go up and down to separate it completely. Because man, this thing was on there really good, and I had to really bang on the fork to pry it out of there. There's a hole that the ball joint goes into, and that was really in there. And I did spray some WD-40 in there, but it didn't matter. I still had to bang on it with the hammer to get it out. So here's the old ball joint It is pretty loose compared to the new one. Well, I got the new ball joint on. It took some doing, but I did get it back on. And the reason that it took some effort was because the bolt holes wouldn't line up. So I had to just wiggle and jiggle and lift and turn the steering wheel. But now all I have to do is torque all the bolts and nuts to the proper torque specs. Alright, but driver's side is done. Now I'll just do the left side. Should be identical as far as procedure goes. Alright.